We'll do the collaterals first, so the lateral ligaments. Has anyone not taped here, just so I know? Okay, cool. So, as you can see, I've just popped. So with our footy club, we get guys standing up, so then we don't have to bend down. Makes it easier, and then you can actually manipulate a lot easier. But if you've got a bench like this, you aim for 20 degrees of flexion of the knee. We use a little chop just so that it makes it easier to be more comfortable. 2 anchors. First, so
stop sign position, which is technically what we
tell it
abduction.
Just above. If you go too low, you're not going to get enough leverage of the tape, so it's not going to have the ability to stop what you're trying to do. So with a medial ligament, which is the most common, what we're trying to do is we're trying to prevent. Sorry, you got knee problems at all? No. What we're trying to do is trying to prevent the tibia going that way, the fibula going that, so stretching the medial ligament. Anatomy-wise, where you're going, so the easiest thing if anatomy is not your strongest is just go in the middle of between the front and back, middle. If you want to know what you're doing, knee bend, you can, if you run your finger down, your finger will drop off. That's the joint line between the femur and the tibia. And so as you go towards the back, you'll start to feel a banding, and that's your ligament. So when we're doing the medial ligament, we want to cross our tape over that point. Now some guys, because the ligament is long, some people might have an injury further higher up the ligament. So you want to be able to provide the support where the injury is going to be. Now that is a proviso though, that as long as you can make the tape work, that it's not uncomfortable that they can't perform their sport. Okay, so cool.
Right. So, just grab that hyperfix over there. Great. Thanks. Thank you very much.
So the bottom anchor, you don't want to compress the patellar tendon, so you'll feel the bony prominence, different on everyone, but you'll feel that bony part. So in Ash it's not as prominent, but you want to go just underneath. You can see that groove, you want to go underneath there. If you compress the tendon, it's not going to be really comfortable for them as well.
To keep the anchors on people's chests. Whenever they lift their arms, they tend to pop. So the methods that I use to try and reduce that is firstly try and get a bare chest if they can. If they're going to take all the time,
that should be lower.
To shave that area if they're a guy.
So what injury?
Hyperfix is really good.
Medial collateral ligament strain.
Probably the best method is sticky spray.
So the way that people are going to do this injury, have we got is football? What other sports we got here? Is it mainly football? Okay. So footy, change in direction, cutting. That knee goes in, they lose, and they stretch through there. That's also how they do ACLs as well. So the guys that you see that have no one around them, and they go to the ground, that's ACL. The other one is when you're going into a tackle and someone's going to pick the ball up and they get collected that way. Okay? So basically we're trying to stop that movement. Now a bit of tape, in all seriousness, how's that going to stop the force? Part of it is about the proprioception, so about what we do with the tape, how it stimulates muscles to help them function as well. And then the other one is making people feel comfortable and secure with a bit of tape. When you change that, it changes a lot of things as well.
It's not a very common problem in netball.
So, my first strip, I go back to finding ligament, vertical.
But this is probably
the other thing about the anchors is don't make them too tight as well, because then you're going to put pressure on the calf at the bottom or the hamstring at the top. So they're just there to provide that base for the tape to stick on, these other bits to stick on. Das said about trying not to have creases as well, because it's also not good for the skin as well. So, okay, the next one, doesn't matter which way you go, so you can go across that way or cross that way. It's where you're crossing it, that's the key. You don't want to go too far back, because then you're going into the back of the joint. Okay, and then that's going to have an effect on the bending and straightening. Okay, so comfort as well.
Around the mid bicep. Okay. So we talked about
normally, I'd actually be standing on this side and taping, so just so everyone can see.
The little teapot dance. So put your hand there. That's beautiful. So mid bicep, so
Sorry,
flex
take.
for me. That's the one. Yep. Brilliant. Just be careful when you're doing anything with rigid tape around a limb that you're not pulling that too tight and cutting the circulation off, because they won't migrate. And always, it is good to check with your people if they're allergic to tapes. Some people are highly allergic to tapes, in which case, if they are, you have to tape and try and get some of that white tape
Now,
on them as well.
that's routinely all I do with the rigid.
Tape.
But if someone's coming back from a serious one and there's still a bit of laxity, so a grade 1 or 2 that you hear, so grade 1 there's not a lot of laxity in the ligament. When they come back, it's pretty much healed and it's nice and strong. If they've gone to grade 2 or 3, there's going to be some movement there. So you might want to reinforce and add a few more strips. Okay? It really depends on the severity of the person you got. Okay, so basically where we're going is I start mid-thigh, come around.
Come back, you sort of feel the more you come back, the more that kind of, you guys can see that, the more that tension.
So the beauty of stretch tape, I'm not sure if Darth said, is you can manipulate it so it can go in different angles and things. So as you're coming down,
so that's the
finger.
There. So you potentially have another one just going to cross there as well.
You're going straight over that top.
Just for demonstration purposes.
Come round.
And then,
Now at this point you can do one of two things. You can go right around again, or you can do that at the end as well. Side, and then here, sorry guys,
So you got now, this is the elastic adhesive
There.
bandage, or EAD.
finger again, manipulate it up.
75 and a 50 mil, depends on the size of the
Manipulate
shoulder
up.
you use. In this case, I'm going to use the 75.
Come across.
And you tend to use a whole
And then you
roll.
go around again.
The second half of this taping is a little bit
Okay.
like taping a thumb.
The things to watch out for when you're doing this is that this cross is not too far back when you're doing, especially when you're using the bigger stretch. It obviously covers a bigger area, so it's very easy to suddenly go into that back part and go into the back part of the knee. That'll have an effect on stopping their extension, which is what you're not trying to do with this tape. The other part is this bottom one, it can come up and actually come and go too close to the patella and affect how that functions as well. So they're the two main issues that you got to watch for with it. I would normally go and nearly use the whole roll, or close to, so you're nearly going twice the whole way through.
Around the front of the shoulder,
So, and then
lay on the skin.
Thank
You've
you.
got, I would normally sort of pad over here so they don't get a little rash.
the lock off,
For now, it's not
wherever you end up.
I'm not going to run, so for now, that's kind of the direction that you want to go. And a lot of guys complain with this one that their breathing's restricted. Don't really
Okay.
breathe it so hard that they're